directions are. Directions are to find the slope of a line. So here, number 1 and number 2, we get a couple of lines here. Okay, so let's talk about what the slope is. The slope is the relationship between how much your graph rises, that goes up or down, which can be expressed as your change in your y values, divided by how much it runs, which is the left to right change, which can be described as your change in x values, or written as change in x values. Okay, so this formula right here we're going to use in the next video. We don't really need this right now. We could use it. This is if I have 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. What I do is I subtract the y values. That gives me the change in vertical distance up and down. Subtract the 2 x values. That gives me my change in distance left to right. Okay, but if we have a graph, it's even easier than that, because we can just kind of figure out what the rise to run ratio is by looking at the graph. Okay, so let's see if I can explain that with number 1. Okay, so I want to know how much this graph goes up and down versus how much it goes left to right. So if you'll notice, if you just look at some points here, let me find a couple points, and this is helpful to do, to pick out some points. This is where these are all points, right? When I say points, I could identify them. For example, this point right here, the far right, is the point 1, 2, 3, 4, comma 2. Okay, I don't need to write those down. I just need to be able to figure out how much it's going down versus how much it's going over. So you'll notice I go over 2 and down 1, over 2, down 1, over 2, down 1. All right, and that's the relationship the whole way. That's what makes this a line. All right, as x gets bigger, y goes down by the same amount, or more specifically, as x goes up by 2, y goes down by 1. X goes up by 2, y goes down by 1. Okay, I really only need 2 of these points to find the slope. Okay, so the run is over 2, right? I go over 2, and then what do? I go down 1. So that's negative because I went down. Okay, so the slope then, rise over run, I went over 2, that's the run, and then I went down 1, that's the rise. And that's it. Okay, let's try and apply this to this one. Find 2 points, here's 1, and here's 1. How do I get from one point to the other? I go up 3, and then I go over 1. Okay, up 3 over 1. So the up part goes on top, that's the rise, and the over part is the run. So that's 3 over 1, which I can simplify as 3. So notice those were both positive. Up and to the right, that's positive y direction, positive x direction. Everything's positive. Over here, I had a positive x direction because I went over, and then because I went down, that's why it was negative. So that's why number 1's negative and number 2 is positive. Okay, you'll just notice, just take a look at the graph. As I go from left to right here, this thing's going down. It means it's negative. Number 2, as I go from left to right, it's going up. It means it's positive. Okay, you're going to practice a lot of those in your textbook. Let's look at 2 more examples. Number 3, these ones are special cases. You'll notice this one is just a flat line, a horizontal line. Okay, so any 2 points on there, you'll notice as x runs, doesn't matter which 2 points you pick. Let's pick those 2 points. As x runs 2, that goes on the bottom, they go from this point to this point, y doesn't rise, right? It doesn't go up or down, so it's just 0. So that's an easy one. Just try and remember that. It's a horizontal line, the slope's 0. That's it. Okay, moving on. Number 4, pick any 2 points, doesn't matter. Okay, so in this case, you'll notice I picked those 2 points, that the rise is 2 from one point to the other, but the run, this one doesn't run. It doesn't go left to right, so that would be 0 on the bottom. And you may have seen this before. This is the first time we've really seen it in this class. We can't divide by 0, right? We can't divide by 0, so anytime I get that, we use the expression undefined. Okay, so this one really sticks out. This slope doesn't exist. Well, we call it undefined. Okay, it's not defined. Anytime I have a 0 in the denominator, that's big news. undefined. Okay, so just try to remember this: horizontal line, slope is 0; vertical line, slope's undefined. Okay, in the next video we'll look at 2 points and then use that formula. We'll use this formula right here to find the graph given 2 points, or find the slope given 2 points.